Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a high-level meeting at his residence. The Indian Armed Forces successfully defend northern and western cities against a barrage of drone and missile attacks by Pakistan. A desperate Pakistan plumbs to a new low, uses civilian aircraft as shield, targets places of worship belonging to the Sikhs, Hindus and Christians. India continues to garner global support for its resolute response. The 27-member EU bloc issues a strong statement. And India's retaliatory steps hit Pakistan's limping economy. India opposes new IMF assistance to Pakistan. All right, first up in news just coming in, India has abstained from voting on Pakistan's bailout package at an IMF meeting. The International Monetary Fund takes note of India's abstention from the voting. Now, the IMF today reviewed the extended fund facility lending program and also considered a fresh resilience and sustainability facility lending program worth $1.3 billion for Pakistan. India raised concerns over the efficacy of the IMF programs in case of Pakistan given its poor track record, and also on the possibility of misuse of debt financing funds for state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. India pointed out that rewarding continued sponsorship of cross-border terrorism sends a very dangerous message to the global community, exposes funding agencies and donors to reputational risks, and makes a mockery of global values. And for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Jessica Taneja. Jessica, do you have an update for us on this IMF board meeting and India's decision to abstain from voting?
Abstention from the vote was a crucial one, in fact, for India. We've heard repeatedly from the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri saying that any and every bailout that is given to Pakistan in the last 5 years, there have been 4 bailouts as we've seen, and India has particularly mentioned the fact that as long as the world and multilateral institutions and banks keep supporting Pakistan in its bailout eventually, would sort of give it more ammo to continue with its activities back home, for which it should be monitored and should be called into question, especially when those funds are not utilized for improving their macroeconomic policies, and also looking at policy slippages in the past. You look at how Pakistan has used the IMF bailout packages. It's looking for another $1.1 billion package so far. And this is a time where Pakistan needs it the most. You see, its external debt is up to $130 billion, Ramesh, and most of it is owned by China. Its forex reserves are down to $15 billion, could last for only in the next 3 months. So things are pretty difficult for Pakistan right now, even as they continue on this prolonged escalation from their end. But at the same time, India has maintained that the kind of terror funding that goes through these bailouts must be stopped. They need to be economically throttled in a sense, to give a lesson, especially because all of these funds are utilized by none other than the military establishment, and the entrenchment of the military establishment when it comes to financial institutions and fiscal policies is so deep, it runs so deep, that it only tends to benefit the higher ups of the Pakistan military. And mostly they are the ones who are sitting on important commissions and boards that are siphoning important infrastructure projects or any other development projects that we've seen in Pakistan. And currently Pakistan, imports most of its energy, be it LNG or be it crude, as Saudi Arabia, Qatar have been providing that for Pakistan for the longest time. When it comes to electricity, there's a lot of help that has come in from China. So this is, of course, also a moment for India to highlight the fact that this is what a bailout does to a failing economy of Pakistan, which refuses to work on its macroeconomic policies, improve the lives of people. More than 40% of the people are living below the poverty line, and something that Pakistan and its civilian government, which is of course is just another caricature. Everything, all we understand, is controlled by the military in the background. So of course, with the absence of a civilian government to initiate those fiscal reforms, India has made an important and a pertinent case for Pakistan to not receive those bailout packages, because all they end up doing is benefiting the Pakistan military and starving the Pakistani population completely for many, many years.
Indeed.
And this has been the case.
Indeed. Clearly, hearing you, Jessica, one gets a sense that Pakistan is a basket case. And according to a Moody's ratings report recently, given Pakistan's dire economic situation, it cannot afford a war with India. And yet, Jessica, we see the Pakistani army in general and the Pakistani army chief in particular, General Asim Munir, doing what he has done in the last several days now, provoking India, threatening India, attacking India with drones and missiles. What does that tell you about the Pakistani army's mindset or strategic calculus, so to speak, and also the priorities, misplaced priorities of a general such as Asim Munir? Jessica?
Well, Ramesh, it wasn't a surprise for anyone to understand the tonality and the tenor in which Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir gave that speech to, during the event held for overseas Pakistani nationals, and that somehow, if not back then, with what happened later on with the Pakistan military allowing those terror facilities and those terrorist organizations to conduct those brutal attacks on Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Pahalgam, as we saw, the priorities somehow seem to be that this is going to be an escalation which the Pakistani army would only do to bring out its popularity. Now, if you speak to various analysts, you understand the dynamics of the day, you'd understand that Pakistan army is the least popular it has been in many, many years. And with that drop in popularity levels, it's certainly not looking good for Asim Munir. Look
Indeed,
at the political backdrop of Pakistan right now. Imran Khan is in jail. And if you recall the Pakistan elections, which I do quite interestingly, was the fact that when Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party led by Imran Khan, was, surging in the polls, it was ahead in the polls. PMLN, the PPP, were nowhere close to that picture. All those candidates whose election symbol was taken away by the Pakistan Election Commission at the behest of the Pakistan military, still, those independents still won without the banner of PTI, while most of their legislators and their contestants were in jail. Still, the independents won more majority. So if there is no semblance of a civilian government, if there is an irrational military head who's commanding everything at the behest of his own will and whims and fancies, right, what we're looking at right now is an escalation which only leads to very difficult and uncertain times, and the world should take note on how this is completely being taken control by the military, who now needs to look at how they govern the country, that they have been starving. Remember, no Pakistani Prime Minister has ever completed a term in Pakistan. So that also says a lot about a country that hasn't been able to grapple with what the Pakistan military has been suffocating its ordinary people in the longest time, as we know, Ramesh.
Indeed, as Jessica is reporting there, Pakistan army can ill afford a full-fledged war with India, and it is time for the Pakistani army in general and Pakistani army chief in particular to decide. Clearly the onus on him, General Asim Munir, to decide what he wants to do in the days and hours going forward. Would he allow to allowed matters to escalate, or will better sense prevail? We leave it at that. Jessica, thank you for now. India deciding to abstain from voting at an IMF meeting. India pointing out, if I can quickly recap for the viewers, that rewarding continued sponsorship of cross-border terrorism sends a dangerous message to the global community, exposes funding agencies and donors to reputational risks, and makes a mockery of global values. In other news, drones have been sighted in Jammu, Samba and Pathankot. They are being engaged. Meanwhile, several blasts were heard in Pokhran. There are reports of drone attacks in Rajasthan's Barmer too. As a precautionary measure, a complete blackout has been imposed in Bhuj and Banaskantha. And joining me from Bhuj in Gujarat is my colleague Meghna Dev. Meghna, tell us more about the situation obtaining in Gujarat tonight as we speak, including blackouts, we are told.
Yes, we are currently here in Bhuj and a complete blackout is being observed here. Kutch is a huge district. It's one of the biggest districts in India. And when we actually see that in all the places in Kutch, be it in Nalia, be it Dakhatrana, be it here in Bhuj or, the Gandhi Dham and all the places in Kutch, especially the bordering villages, are observing a blackout. And it has been told that the blackout will continue until further orders. So currently nobody knows when this when the blackout will be over. But besides that, not only the district of Kutch, but also now we get to know the Gujarat CMO has in fact announced that there is going to be a blackout in the Banaskantha district of Gujarat, in the Suigam and Wau talukas, which are the bordering villages near the Nadabed border, where Banaskantha shares border with Pakistan. So that is those are the border villages in India, where specifically when we are talking about the Kutch and the Banaskantha districts of Gujarat. So a blackout is being observed. Now what we are also being told by some of the villagers near the border areas is that there have been drone sightings near the Jakhau port area and some of the places, and what we are also being told is that they are being, action is being taken, but we'll have to wait until an official word comes on how many drones have been sighted, intercepted, and the offensives have been answered. We'll have to wait for that. But what locals tell us that there have been drone sightings, and in fact, at the MEA presser today, we have been informed also that there were drone sightings near Sir Creek. So that clearly tells the picture that this region is also being targeted and offensives planned, but there is a huge deployment of personnel near this area as well, which not only in the land borders where Gujarat shares land borders with Pakistan, but also the coastline. There is being patrolling which is being done by the marine forces, the marine police, the marine task force commandos, and also Coast Guard. Besides, when we were near the Jakhau port today, early in the evening, we got to know that a number of fishermen have been called back. No new tokens are being issued to fishermen to venture into the sea. They have been clearly advised not to venture into the sea and have been asked to park their boats at the port. Besides, they have also been asked to report any anything that they see, any foreign boat that they see, or anything which is a bit something that they will have a doubt on. They will have to report it immediately to the Coast Guard or the Marine Police or the nearest police station. So what we get to know, as of now, there are being precautionary measures taken, but also in the state of Gujarat, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to the Chief Minister of Gujarat to actually assess the entire situation and take a note of the entire situation. He also took stock of what preparations are being done, specifically talking about these areas of Saurashtra and Kutch, which includes Jamnagar as well, which includes Patan, Banaskantha and Kutch. So airport, we as I told earlier in the day as well, that the airports have been shut. Bhuj Airport, Rajkot Airport, Mundra Airport,
Right.
Keshod, and these are the airports near the Saurashtra and Kutch region which have been shut for civilian purposes.
Right.
But these airports will definitely be working for military purposes. So this is the current situation.
Okay.
Hotlines and satellite phones connections are being checked. Also, health. The people who are working, health officials have been asked to return back. Whoever are on leave.
Right.
All the leaves have also been cancelled. So complete coordination,
Okay.
With the state government is ensuring between different agencies and administrations.
All right, we'll leave it there. Meghna Dev in Bhuj. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right, moving on in some other news, Prime Minister Modi chaired a high-level meeting at his residence in the national capital on Friday. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan, and the chiefs of all three armed forces were present in that meeting. Indian armed forces thwarted all attempts by Pakistan to target northern and western cities using drones and missiles last night. Indian Army shared a video saying Pakistani troops resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and a befitting reply given to the ceasefire violations. The Indian Army remains committed to safeguarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country, and all nefarious designs will be responded with force. According to the headquarters of Integrated Defence Staff, 8 missiles from Pakistan were directed at Satwari, Samba, Araspura and Arnia in Jammu and Kashmir. All missiles were intercepted and blocked by the air defence units. Pakistan had attempted infiltration at 36 locations from Leh to Sir Creek last night by using around 400 drones. The Indian Armed Forces shot down many of these drones using kinetic and non-kinetic means. In a special briefing in New Delhi, Colonel Sophia Qureshi of the Indian Army said, on the night of May 7 and 8, the Pakistani Army violated the Indian airspace several times over the entire western border with the intention of targeting military infrastructure.
2025 की मध्य रात्रि को पाकिस्तानी सेना ने सैन्य बुनियादी ढांचे को निशाना बनाने के इरादे से पूरी पश्चिमी सेना पर भारतीय वायु क्षेत्र का कई बार उल्लंघन किया। यही नहीं बल्कि पाकिस्तानी सेना ने नियंत्रण रेखा पर भारी कैलिबर वाले हथियारों से गोलीबारी भी की। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा और नियंत्रण रेखा पर लेह से लेकर सर क्रीक तक 36 स्थानों पर 300 से 400 लगभग ड्रोनों का इस्तेमाल घुसपैठ का प्रयास करने के लिए किया गया। भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने काइनेटिक्स व नॉन काइनेटिक साधनों का उपयोग करके इनमें से कई ड्रोन्स को मार गिराया।
Also, the Indian Air Force's Wing Commander Vyomika Singh informed that in response to the Pakistani attack, the Indian Armed Forces used drones and were launched at 4 air defense sites in Pakistan, and one of the drones was able to destroy an air defense radar. She said that Pakistani Army also suffered major losses in the Indian retaliatory fire.
Later in the night, an armed UAV of Pakistan attempted to target Bhatinda military station, which was detected and neutralized. In response to the Pakistani attack, armed drones were launched at 4 air defense sites in Pakistan. One of the drones was able to destroy an AD radar. Pakistan also carried out artillery shelling across the line of control using heavy caliber artillery guns and armed drones at Tangdhar, Uri, Poonch, Mendhar, Rajouri, Akhnur and Udhampur in Jammu and Kashmir area, which resulted in some losses and injuries to Indian Army personnel. Pakistan Army also suffered major losses in Indian retaliatory fire.
Amidst the smoke and chaos of conflict, it is easy to lose track of where it started and the direction in which it is headed. On April 22nd, Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, terrorists gunned down 26 people. Most of them were Indian tourists. A terror group called the Resistance Front, or TRF, claimed responsibility for the attack. The TRF is a shadow group of the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist group. On 7th May, Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. These actions were focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani civilian or military facilities were targeted. India demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. These words are important to remember: focused, measured and non-escalatory. India does not seek a wider conflict. In fact, it is Pakistan which then escalated the conflict on the intervening night of 7th and 8th May, targeting India's military installations across multiple cities. India's air defense foiled those attacks. It also intensified cross-border firing. India retaliated with similar force and targets, neutralizing air defense facility of Lahore in Pakistan. Since then, tit-for-tat military actions have followed. Why am I talking to you through this all over again? Well, to emphasize the point that Pahalgam terrorist attack of 22nd April is the original escalation. It were the terrorists, in fact, who chose their victims on the basis of religion. They killed the Hindu men, but before you think their loyalty lies with any faith, they also killed a Muslim local who tried to protect the innocent tourists. In that sense, the target of the terrorists was also the social fabric and religious diversity of India. Now, talking to media, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said that Pakistan is targeting and shelling places of worship with a particular design, including gurudwaras, churches and temples.
During heavy shelling across the line of control in the early morning of 7th May, a shell fired from Pakistan landed just behind the Christ School run by the Carmelites of Mary Immaculate congregation in Puj. Tragically, the shell fired from Pakistan hit the home of 2 students of the Christ School. Both students unfortunately lost their lives and their parents were severely injured. Another Pakistani shell struck a Christian convent of nuns belonging to the congregation of the Mother of Carmel, damaging water tanks and destroying solar panel infrastructure. Several priests, nuns, school staff and local residents took refuge in an underground hall beneath the Christ School during the shelling by Pakistan. The school happened to be closed at the time, fortunately. Otherwise, more losses would have occurred. Again, we have seen the Pakistani side targeting and shelling places of worship with a particular design. This includes gurdwaras, these convents and temples. This is a new low even for Pakistan.
Referring to Pakistan's denial of attack, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said it is another example of Pakistan's duplicity.
These provocative and escalatory actions that were taken by Pakistan last night were targeted at Indian cities and civilian infrastructure, in addition to some military targets. The Indian Armed Forces responded proportionately, adequately and responsibly. What I want to underline is that the official and blatantly farcical denial of these attacks that Pakistan carried out by the Pakistani state machinery is yet another example of their duplicity and the new depths that they are plumbing in their quest for disinformation.
The Foreign Secretary announced that the services of the Kartarpur Sahib corridor have been suspended till further directions.
I think you're all aware of the situation along the entire India-Pakistan border and the areas around the line of control. In view of the existing security scenario, the services of the Kartarpur Sahib corridor have been suspended till further directions. We'll update you as and when there is a change in the situation.
Still to come on DD India Newshour. We'll get you an expert opinion on India's measured and non-escalatory response to Pakistan's attempts to hit Indian cities. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a high-level meeting at his residence. Indian armed forces successfully defend northern and western cities against a barrage of drone and missile attacks by Pakistan. A desperate Pakistan plumbs to a new low, uses civilian aircraft as shield, targets places of worship belonging to the Sikhs, Hindus and Christians. India continues to garner global support for its resolute response. The 27-member EU bloc issues a strong statement. And India's retaliatory steps hit Pakistan's limping economy. India opposes new IMF assistance to Pakistan. World leaders and prominent international figures have expressed strong support for India's Operation Sindoor, a precise military strike conducted against terrorist camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir on the 7th of May. Western allies, including the UK, France and the US, have firmly backed India's right to defend. Here's more.
India's approach has earned it a strong backing from the international community to counter terrorism after it launched Operation Sindoor. UK Foreign Minister David Lammy said India had every reason to be outraged, while former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak asserted that no country should tolerate cross-border terror. The US President Donald Trump expressed solidarity with India, affirming its sovereign right to combat terrorism, while also urging restraint and a diplomatic path forward. The European Union and all 27 member states issued a unified, strong statement. Russia, while calling for restraint from both sides, made it clear that it condemns all forms of terrorism and is deeply concerned about the military escalation. The countries including USA, UK, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and UAE have supported India's position. Israel also stood firmly with India. Its ambassador remarked that terrorists have no sanctuary and supported India's right to defend itself. Global leaders know that India did not strike first and it only responded to terror. Operation Sindoor sends a strong and stern message that India will not stay silent in the face of terrorism and will act whenever needed, but always with care. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, joining me is Ambassador S.R. Thayil, a former Indian ambassador. Ambassador Thayil, welcome to this broadcast. What do you make of India's diplomatic outreach? We've seen Minister Jaishankar hold talks with the Saudi Arabian minister and also with the British Foreign Secretary. And also, what do you make of US Vice President J.D. Vance's statement? He says it is not our business to intervene and also that the US cannot make India lay down its arms.
Since 22nd April, the dastardly attack on murder of Indian tourists, the outreach of Indian diplomats, external affairs minister, foreign secretary, etc., has been very extensive.
Right.
One can say at various levels that first, of course, the UN Security Council members, where unfortunately Pakistan is a non-permanent member at the moment. So Pakistan has a place in the room where India is not there. So our South Bloc and External Affairs Minister have been in touch with all the other members of UN Security Council. Of course, it's a toothless body in the sense that it has been very ineffective lately. But just to prevent that there is no anti-India statement, or all the members should be properly briefed and they should know what exactly are the facts. Now, second is that globally the world is wary of conflict. So many conflicts are going on. So while they appreciate that India has been a victim of terror, and India has a full right to retaliate, they do not want an escalation and another hot war in South Asia, where the world is already trying to deal with the Russia-Ukraine war and Israel-Gaza conflict, and of course South China Sea and Houthis, and there are so many hotspots. So one should see Vice President J.D. Vance's comment in that perspective. That earlier President Trump had also said that US will keep out of it, and India and Pakistan should resolve it, and they have done it in the past. And we also feel that India and Pakistan issues have to be resolved bilaterally.
Right.
And whatever Pakistan has done, they have escalated by 22nd April attack by inciting, financing, and promoting 22nd April terrorist attack in Pahalgam, where 26 innocents lost their lives. So India has taken measures which are punitive in nature against terrorists. That is what the message is being given to all the other countries, that whatever India has done in Operation Sindoor, it is not against Pakistan army, it was not against Pakistan infrastructure, it was against Pakistan's terrorist factories.
Right.
And so I think that message is well appreciated by the world governments. But we have to see some more support, and there are two avenues. One, of course, in the IMF, and that tonight or by our time there is a meeting in the IMF.
Indeed, Ambassador, in fact, I was about to ask you about that. In news just coming in, we are told that India has abstained from voting on Pakistan's bailout package at that IMF meeting. The IMF taking note of India's abstention from the voting. If I can quickly paraphrase the central argument of India's submission, India pointing out that rewarding continued sponsorship of cross-border terrorism sends a dangerous message to the global community, exposes funding agencies and donors to reputational risks, and makes a mockery of global values. In your estimation, Ambassador, do you think it's time for India to keep the pressure on, not to give Pakistan the benefit of the doubt just yet, and to further tighten the noose around Pakistan's neck?
Yes, India must keep the pressure on and also revive the process in the Financial Action Task Force.
Right.
That Pakistan is again put in the grey list of financing of terrorism, and there a lot of lobbying will be required, a lot of information would need to be shared. There are 40 members in FATF, and of course Turkey and China will come to the assistance of Pakistan. But we have to keep the pressure up, put the diplomatic screws tight on Pakistan and its machine of falsehood, and also take action on the ground, in the field, on the border,
Indeed.
international as well as the line of control.
Ambassador, you referred to two countries. You named Turkey and you named China, that these countries may come to Pakistan's rescue in the IMF and or the FATF. Now, that said, what do you make of the reports suggesting that Turkish drones were used by Pakistan to target India and two Chinese-made aircraft were also used to attack India? What do you make of the shrinking global opinion in Pakistan's favor? In other words, only a handful of countries, namely China, Turkey and Azerbaijan, are seen to be in Pakistan's corner, whereas the global sentiment seems to be favoring India. What does that tell you about Pakistan's increasing isolation on the world stage?
Absolutely. Pakistan is increasingly isolated. It has only two real countries which are standing with Pakistan on this moment. That is Turkey and perhaps China. China has also not made very critical statements, but they have expressed regret over India's Operation Sindoor. And there is a global perspective. India is now the fourth largest economy in the world. We just recently, under the IMF estimate, surpassed Japan. And we just had a very good bilateral FTA with the United Kingdom, and with a bilateral trade agreement is on the anvil with United States.
Right.
So the countries of the world want to engage with India, which is a success story. They want to be partners in India's growth story and make money. Whereas Pakistan is a bankrupt state. It is a beggar state. They are also all the time going to IMF. I think it's the 15th time Pakistan has gone to IMF for a bailout, and they are asking for money because otherwise they have only a $4-5 billion worth of foreign exchange. And time again, Saudi Arabia or UAE or China hand over to them cash. So Pakistan is practically a failed state. Financially, it is a bankrupt state. There is the most popular leader, Imran Khan, has been put behind bars by the army there. The political parties have no resonance with the people, and to distract attention from their internal problems.
Indeed.
Chief Asim Munir has mounted this operation against
Since
India.
you referred to General Asim Munir, Ambassador, we've seen the way he has chosen to act in the last few days and few weeks, starting from his speech last month to the overseas Pakistanis, where he reiterated his belief in the so-called two-nation theory. He spoke about how the Muslims cannot live or coexist with Hindus and so on. He resembles more like an Islamic clergy than an army or uniformed soldier. With that said, what do you make of General Asim Munir's strategic calculations tonight as we speak? What is he playing for really here? Will better sense prevail, or will he persist with his misadventures and miscalculations going forward as well?
His basic motive is to secure his own position. After 3-4 months, his term is coming to a close. And by creating this tension with India, trying to gain sympathy of the people of Pakistan, that they again get consolidated behind the Pakistan army.
Right.
And so he will try to continue this provocation and this conflict with India. We have to expose the game of General Munir not only to the world, but somehow the people of Pakistan should also see that the way they are going, it is a very dangerous path. And if there is real war, then India will have full right to abrogate the Indus Water Treaty. Right now, we have just put it in abeyance. And that can have very, very serious implications for the future of Pakistan.
Indeed, as we speak tonight, Ambassador, General Asim Munir in particular is at an intersection. There's a fork in the road. Which route or which path will he choose? Will he choose a path of peace, or will he choose the path of escalation? One does not know yet. But the onus clearly is on him and him alone, because everything rests on what he chooses to do in the next few hours and days. We leave it at that. Ambassador, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Now, Pakistan boasts of war readiness, but reality tells a different story. India's response to the Pahalgam terror attack dealt yet another blow to Pakistan's struggling economy. Bans on Pakistani ships, imports and postal services have all hit home hard. DD India's Raghav Kumar Jha explores why Pakistan cannot afford a war with India.
Struggling with a wrecked economy, Pakistan faces significant challenges like rising poverty, high inflation, and persistent debt issues. The country's economy has been badly impacted by factors like the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, poor economic development, corruption, political unrest, and the effects of Russia-Ukraine war. According to reports, Pakistan has foreign exchange reserves of only $13.15 billion, whereas it has to pay foreign debts of $26 billion in the financial year 2025-26. Pakistan's GDP is at $338.37 billion, and it has only enough money to import goods for 2 months. In fact, Pakistan's economy is in shambles. A persistently high current account deficit and external debt obligations drained its foreign exchange reserves. By 2023, the country faced a severe balance of payment crisis, with reserves falling below $4 billion, enough for just a few weeks of imports. Pakistan is heavily reliant on external aid, particularly from the United States, China, and the international financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund or IMF. Pakistan's exports base remained narrow while imports grew consistently. Periodic IMF bailouts, more than 20 programs since 1980s, became a hallmark of Pakistan's economic policy. Each bailout brought temporary stability, but structural reforms were either delayed or diluted due to corruption. However, this is not the end of Pakistan's economic woes. The tougher times are ahead as India's retaliatory steps in the aftermath of Pahalgam terror attack threaten to break its crucial economic support links. India has imposed a blanket ban on direct or indirect import and transit of all goods originating in or exported from Pakistan following the closure of the Wagah-Atari trade route. The halt is likely to disrupt Pakistan's pharmaceutical, chemical, and food sectors, which depend heavily on Indian inputs. Informal trade via third countries like the UAE and Singapore will also come under strain due to heightened security and costs. India has barred all ships bearing the Pakistani flag from entering Indian ports and has suspended all maritime activities. Also, all postal and courier services in Pakistan stand suspended. Against this backdrop, the global rating agency Moody's has also warned Pakistan. The rating agency said on Monday that a sustained escalation in tensions with India would likely hit Pakistan's economy and hamper the government's ongoing fiscal consolidation. It warned the Indo-Pak tensions could impair Pakistan's access to external financing and put foreign exchange reserves, which is significantly low to meet existing debts, under severe stress. Amidst an economic crisis ridden by low reserves and high debts, Pakistan is running the country taking loans from the IMF. Against this backdrop, if Pakistan wages war with India, it will have to spend an estimated $1.5 to $3.2 million per day or $45 to $96 million per month, putting considerable pressure on Pakistan's defense budget of $7.64 billion. Amidst all this, how Pakistan will handle all this extraordinary stress on its economy is a million-dollar question. Raghav Kumar Jha for DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. Time now for all the news from the world of sport. Cricket South Africa have announced the appointment of Shukri Conrad as the team's all-format head coach. Shukri Conrad was named the limited overs coach after his successful stint as red ball coach. He took over the Test team in January 2023 and led them to the final of World Test Championship set to take place in June. Conrad replaces Rob Walter after he resigned from his position last month because of personal reasons. In their next limited overs assignment, South Africa will face Zimbabwe and New Zealand in a tri-series in July. The football now. Liverpool striker Mohamed Salah has been voted Football Writers Association Men's Player of the Year for the third time. Salah became the second player to claim the award 3 times after former Arsenal striker Thierry Henry. Salah led the Premier League scoring chart with 28 goals and helped Liverpool win their second league title since he joined in 2017. Meanwhile, Arsenal's Alessia Russo claimed the Women's Player of the Year award. Russo scored 8 goals in the Women's Champions League to help Arsenal reach the final. Salah and Russo will receive their awards at a ceremony in London on 22nd of May. Bayer Leverkusen manager Xabi Alonso is set to leave the club after the conclusion of the current season, marking the end of his 3-year tenure. Leverkusen agreed to terminate Alonso's contract, which was initially set to expire in 2026. During his tenure, Alonso lifted the Bundesliga title, the DFB Pokal and Super Cup.
We can let you know that this week the club and I we have agreed that these 2 games are going to be my last 2 games as Bayer Leverkusen coach. We have been talking during this week that it's always about the momentum, and now is the right moment to announce it.
And now to updates from the Italian Open 2025. Arina Sabalenka cruised past Anastasia Potapova to advance to the 3rd round of the Italian Open on Friday. Sabalenka will play Sofia Kenin in the next round after the American beat Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in straight sets. On the other hand, Carlos Alcaraz kicked off his bid for a first Italian Open title by cruising past Serbian Dusan Lavic. World number 3 Alcaraz secured an easy win on his return to action following a thigh injury he suffered in the Barcelona Open final last month. India's breakout star Unnati Hooda has advanced to the semi-finals of the BWF World Tour Super 300 event in the Taipei Open. Unnati defeated Yung Ye Ting of Chinese Taipei in 52 minutes to reach the last 4 stage of a Super 300 event for the 2nd time in her career. World number 53 Unnati will next face top seed and world number 8 Tomoko Miyazaki of Japan for a place in the final. Meanwhile, in men's singles event, India's Ayush Shetty defeated Brian Yang to advance to the semi-finals. And that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that is now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Newshour.